Sisyphus. It's the only movie in the world that I remember all the words to.
Et rappelle-toi, Jill, tu es là pour vendre des journaux, alors n'oublie pas de trier de temps en temps.
Oh my God, this is by far the most meticulous recreation of any scene in the movie that we're replicating. We required it because I guess it's such an iconic scene.
Yeah, so in terms of like the actual choreography, we began in the rehearsal process we watched it kind of, on a loop like it's about to be here. And it's quite meta, right? There is part of this scene is a complete, like we are doing an impression of exactly, we're doing exactly what they did step by step, but then there's a lot of interpretation.
Ce type me filme avec une caméra dans un triporteur de la Poste. Et je dis tout ce qui me passe par la tête parce que tous les dialogues seront doublés plus tard.
The dialogue is an idea of what could have been said, but the steps that we're doing, so we had to count, okay, 5 steps forward, turn over your right shoulder, but it was backwards, right? So there was a lot of like reverse engineering, but then also copying exact movements.
And for this scene in particular, I got lucky because those guys, they had to mimic every gestures, everything the right way, but I was off camera, so it was easier for me. I had some pictures to look at how he was dressed and the energy of the body. And the only thing I had to do for this shot that had to be perfect was the camera movement. So I studied the shot to see like where does it stop, at what time during the shot. And so we recreated this shot by doing this.
Yeah, it was all about rhythm. Like there was like the choreography, the physical things, and then the dialogues. And to mix both of them was really difficult.
I loved it.
It was like, I just think it was like a dance number in a way, without dance, but the choreography, I'll always remember it for that, just like a rhythm that you guys got. And then, we have a camera moving in a little mail cart behind. That's the conceit of the whole scene. They're stealing this shot in Paris on this day in 1959.
What was it like taking direction from Rick and then also giving direction to that?
No problem.
Yeah. So yeah, this was meta directing. So I was directing the movie, but I was directed also at the same time.
Merci.
Jusqu'au passage Coulté.
C'était superbe.
You say so.
So it was a fun thing to have those like kind of mixed directions.
And I remember just empowering Guillaume. I'm like, hey, you are directing this movie. You're not looking at me. You're making this movie. And he took to that very easily. There were times, I make a joke, there were times when I had to, we'd say cut and we'd be moving on and he'd still be going. I say, Guillaume, never forget, you're playing a director, you're acting a director in a movie that I'm actually directing. So,
I loved
it's good for you not to think of that while we're rolling, but after I say cut.
Yeah. There was a first cut for the actors and a second cut for the director.
He was perfect.
But it was so perfect. That's why I cast Guillaume, because he's perfect.
Yeah, and luckily I had several months to do rehearsal with other actors before I met Zoe. So when I met Zoe, I was like kind of on the spot.
Yeah, it wasn't day one. That is the analogy perfectly to the movie. Jean Seberg is on the cover of magazines. He looks up to her. And then now she comes in from the US. She's this US actor that he has to somehow direct. He was probably very intimidated. And I know they didn't communicate so well, but that was you coming in from the US. It was perfect. It was the movie. But I just admired the way you guys kind of jumped into your characters.